Buff Nation, what's going on? Hope you guys are all having a wonderful evening. Hey, first off, shout out. Had a ton of Husker fans in my comments on my video the other day. Welcome. Happy to have you guys here. Really looking forward to a couple of things. One, gonna have Cameron Parker on next week, longtime Nebraska Cornhuskers fan, to do a behind the enemy lines preview of the team. And really looking forward to that matchup. Of course, yet again, it's the biggest game of the year for the Buffs. And I'm sure Nebraska cares about it quite a bit too. So just want to say thank you for everybody new checking in on the channel. But wanted to do a short live stream today, a little bit different of a one, a little bit more open-ended. And I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts on this as well, is just regarding a little bit more of the construction of the offense that we're going to be seeing from the Buffs this year, from Pat Shurmur. If you don't know much about him, more so an Andy Reid disciple, somebody you coached under Andy Reid for a very long time. So West Coast principles with some, spread offense influences as well. And it's going to be interesting to see what we get in terms of the offense this year. But as I don't know if you guys have done this before. Probably not. Maybe some of you guys have, but I've been going through a bunch of different playbooks, like old playbooks that you can find online, because I've been wanting to learn more as a Broncos fan. What are some of the elements of the Sean Payton offense? And then it got me down this whole rabbit hole of when I'm reading all the rules of the huddle and everything that's going to be called, the cadences, the different protections the quarterback can call. It's got me thinking about how much responsibility is going to be put on Shedeur Sanders this year in this Pat Shurmur offense. I really don't know. So this is going to be more so something that I'm thinking out loud about. But let's take, for example, JJ McCarthy, okay? A guy that threw for, I think, like 2,800 passing yards this past year. Of course, undefeated national champion. But I think a lot of what had to do with him rising up in the draft ranks and then becoming, I think, a top 10 pick. I think he was 10th overall, if I remember correctly, or maybe he was 11th, is the fact that he was more so pro ready from a mental standpoint. He could identify coverages. He had worked in a huddle, at least at some points, some parts at his time at Michigan. So he could call plays, he could call protections, different things like that. Whereas a lot of college quarterbacks are coming from a purely spread or air raid offense to where there's no huddling and where they haven't operated in a huddle. They've never given a play call like that before. But now, thanks to the new rules in college football this year, Shedeur is going to have a little earpiece in his helmet, and Pat Shurmur is going to be able to call the plays in via a little microphone, via a little headset. And I do wonder, will we see the Buffs huddle more? That is a hope that I have. I think that would be great, mainly in the interest of Shedeur and the other players, is that, one, I think it always helps with communication. So you don't have guys that are reading the wrong signals or anything like that. You have one guy that's calling the play. Plus, it helps get them more so pro ready, for the players that end up going to the NFL, CFL, UFL, all that. It helps them already become more comfortable with that. And specifically with Shedeur, it really gives him the chance to already have some of these things down by the time he enters the NFL, where he's used to making these play calls from the huddle. This is another question I have. Will there be instances where Pat Shurmur is calling two plays, then based on the coverage look that Shedeur is getting at the line, does he check to that second play or not? These sorts of things are going through my mind of how complex is this pro style system, that we've talked a lot about. How's this gonna feel? I do think, according to Pat Shurmur, he's talked about this earlier as well during the years, that we're still going to be seeing a lot of 10 personnel. That doesn't surprise me. And if you guys aren't familiar with 10 personnel is, it's just one running back, 0 tight ends, 10. So that's one running back out there, 4 wide. I think that plays to our strengths with our wide receiver core, I feel like being one of the best in the Big 12, if not the best. And that's where we have our best athletes, right? But just because you're running 10 personnel doesn't mean that you can't operate in a way in which things feel a little bit more pro style. And I do wonder, will Shedeur have that responsibility on him this year to set more of the protections, to check in and out of plays? One of the reasons that Sean Payton has talked so much about why he liked Bo Nix a lot, and I got into this, realized this as I started going into the NFL draft stuff this spring, was that Bo Nix, similar to JJ McCarthy, was one of these guys that by his later years in college football, he was setting the protections. He had freedom to audible in certain circumstances. And that's what I'm hoping to see from Shedeur this year, is that he has a little bit more of that uh, autonomy put on him to make the right call, to make the right read, and in a sense, give him more responsibility than I think he's taken more every single year, it seems like, during his college career. But I'm wondering if this is an opportunity for a really big step. Now, with Well Off, I think they've been a little bit more particular about what they choose to show and what they don't. You guys might have to remind me if you guys have seen them huddling often or not. I really can't remember right now, but that's something that I do wonder how often we will do that, along with the rest of college football, because of course, with the hashes being widened, the pace of play is just different in college football. It's definitely a different game, but I do wonder if you'll see a mix where teams still won't be huddling, but maybe the quarterback, and in our case, Shedeur, will get that call and then he'll call it out, or make some different hand signals. Everybody will know what they're doing. I'm really curious, but I think from some of the mistakes that we saw last year was guys not knowing their routes, like guys not knowing their blocking assignments, like guys not lined up correctly. We're rushing too often to the line of scrimmage. I think taking some more time to huddle could be uh, really advantageous for us, like I said, in making the right communication, making sure everybody's on the same page, and allowing Shedeur to make some of these checks at the line that put the team in the right play to have the most success, if that makes sense. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and pull up. I thought this was really interesting. I was looking like the read, couldn't find one. Whoa, I have another video popping up. I couldn't find like an Andy Reid one that had like all these explanations done, but I thought this Kyle Shanahan, again, West Coast offense. This is what a lot of the offenses at least have some sort of basis from, is West Coast Bill Walsh offense forever ago, right? But in this Atlanta Falcons playbook, and you could just find this just by Googling it, 2016 playbook, there's some different rules that come up here I thought was pretty cool. That got me thinking about, excuse me, will Shedeur be responsible for some of these things? So let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, so rules of the huddle. If you guys haven't played football like myself, you probably haven't seen this before, but every single team kind of has their own alignment to the huddle where every single position will line up. It will be consistent every single time. Notice how, hey, you'll always huddle 6 yards away from the line of scrimmage in this case. In Sean Payton's case, in at least his New York Giants playbook that I was looking at, it was 7 yards away from the line of scrimmage. I thought that was pretty interesting. But quarterback will call it the play. If anybody didn't hear, though, you'll check. He'll repeat it again. And then if not, ready break. Everybody understands what's going on. Point of emphasis, create quick tempo. All of that. You want to look like you got your stuff together, okay? So during the play call, and this is, I wonder how complex the play calls are going to be, because there's a lot of different pieces of information that can be communicated and will be communicated in a play call. So for something that's a little bit more complex at the NFL level, such as Kyle Shanahan or Sean Payton's system, they'll have, it seems like they have different verbiage for each of these different parts. And that's where you kind of get the idea of developing a play calling language, whatnot. But if there's any shift that needs to be called, the formation, what side of strength, where are they going to have the, for instance, like the tight end lineup on is the strong side, for instance, right? Formation variation, okay? Any motions that are going to be done pre-snap, all of that. Any sort of pass protections or holes in case of the running game. What the concept of the runner pass is going to be, and then the snap count. So again, you can see like they provided these fun examples. It can be as simple as I write 19 week on the quick ready break, or I believe this is how you pronounce it, bunch right Y center 3 jet Z curl burst on 1 ready break. I wonder if things will be a little bit, if they will feel like this with Pat Shurmur, or if things will continue to be a little bit simplified to where maybe instead of a play call being something like, this must be close to 10 words, it's something that's more closer to 4 or 5. Also, with snap counts, how often, how many snap counts are we going to have? I would assume we would have at least a few for keeping the offense or the defense on their heels a little bit. But yeah, in terms of like cadences, are we going to mix that up, or are we going to stick with one cadence throughout the whole year? Are we going to have any audibles that Shedeur can call at the line if there needs to be a hot route developed or something like that? Or I know that they have a call like this, red, which is if they just need to snap the ball really quick because the play clock's running down, he can make that call and then they'll snap it. But yeah, this is more so an open-ended question that I've had that I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I'll get to some of your comments here for just a little bit. But yeah, so for instance, what I was talking about with Sean Payton or Kyle Shanahan, sometimes they'll give their quarterbacks 2 plays, right? They can in a sense, one of these plays, depending on what look they're getting. Allows them to change the play at the line of scrimmage without using an audible call, which is nice. So, example, you call trips right 19 Wanda, can 18 support. Then, based on the look that you're getting during the cadence, calls can, you're going to that second play. So it becomes trips right 18 support. So kind of interesting stuff. But I do hope that we see some things a little bit more pro style, not only with huddling, but with even just incorporating some different modern pro style formations. I think one of the things that has really been helpful for Patrick Mahomes, of course, with Andy Reid, has just been the utilization of a lot of pre-snap motion, jet sweeps, all of that can help out with specifically when you're running some zone blocking runs, as well as different formations such as the pistol, where you still have the running back behind you and allows you to kind of, I feel like run some more of these plays, these run plays with a little bit more purpose, decisiveness than handing everything out of the gun where the running back will just have no momentum until he gets the ball, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I think throughout, I was reading something a little while ago. I think Pat Shurmur called, I don't know if it was with his Vikings or whether it was with the Giants. I can't remember, but something around like a 25% running run to pass ratio. So I guess that would be like every 1 out of 4 plays was a run. I would love to see that increased a little bit, but I still don't expect it to increase too much just based on the talent that we have out wide and the quarterback, obviously, that we have behind center. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Anyways, I'll get to some of your questions, then I'll wrap this up. And if you guys are interested in some of this stuff, I could probably take you guys through some more of these things. Like I found some like interesting playbooks on the spread offense as well, which we'll still see a lot of those concepts used in this offense this year. No doubt. I mean, you got to use spread concepts when the field is so wide and the talent and athletic, you know, differences on team to team are so wide as well. So let's see. JP, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Brian Johnson says, "Oh man, man, I do miss Coach O'Boyle just because I don't have anybody to direct my bitching to. That's really just it." Giggity, will Shurmur be on the field or up in the box? This is a great question. I would imagine he would be up in the box. Outside of when he was a head coach, I believe he's always been in the box. And I think even when he was calling plays last year, he was calling them from the box. And then Sean Lewis would relay the hand signals. So he'd give the play call, I guess, to Sean Lewis. Then Sean Lewis and the sideline would relay in the calls, and then they would snap the ball or run the play. Now it's just going to be direct, where Pat Shurmur will be able to talk directly to Shedeur in the huddle, so to speak. Coach Prime has said he wanted a run-heavy offense. Yes, I hope we run more because I think that's going to help, one, the passing game. Shedeur had some of his best games when he was throwing off play action effectively. So if we can have at least a half decent run game to keep this defense honest, that's going to benefit us. We can't have him throwing 40, 50 times a game throughout the year, in my opinion, and be expecting a super successful year, one where I think we're exceeding a ton of expectations. But if we are playing a little bit more balanced, if we are getting better line play, dude, anything's possible. Anything's possible. Are you feeling fully confident in our roster now? Any other positions we need? Cornerback, defensive line, offensive line are the only ones I think. Yeah, no, I'm feeling a lot better. Of course, like even Georgia fans, they have little parts of their team that they wish that they could improve on or be a little bit better at depth wise, right? So I don't think you'll ever hear from me who was just saying like, hey, this roster is perfect. But if we're comparing it with last year's, if we're using it to say like, can this roster compete in the Big 12 for a possible Big 12 title? I think we can. I think we have enough talent to do so. And while the offensive line is still definitely a question mark, I mean, surely it can't be any worse than last year, right? Right. It can't be any worse than last year. I do feel much better about our interior. Again, the tackle position is just one that still feels like a bit up in the air. Jordan Seaton, long term, he's going to be that cornerstone to lead the offensive line, no doubt. He's going to be great, but as a true freshman, he's probably going to have his ups and downs. At right tackle, I have no idea how that's going to work out from a pass protection standpoint, but I do feel good, whether it's Savion Washington or Ethan Boyd or one of these other guys that we brought in. I do have confidence that we're going to get better run blocking from the tackle positions this year as well. So I think that's great. Now, I'm never going to complain about having another defensive lineman in here. It would be very nice. Cornerback, I feel like we're going to be okay at, as long as we're not having to go, 4 or 5 deep. If we're not having like 4 or 5 serious injuries to that position, I feel good about. Linebacker, I feel okay. I feel much better than I felt in December about the position. So I think, yeah, defensive line and offensive line, that's not really anything that's earth-shattering, but I would never complain about using how many scholarships we got left? 6, splitting those things, 3 and 3, just bringing 3 more offensive linemen, 3 more defensive linemen or edges. I would love that. I think that the most successful teams, they have a lot of depth there, and my goal this year for the team is for us to just be able to play Shane Cokes at his natural position. Right? Like, let's and that's why I feel better about the defensive line. Right now, I'm feeling like it's at the place to where we go through one injury, we're not gonna have to kick Shane Cokes inside. But I mean, what do I know? That's just kind of what I think about it. But great question. Overall, super successful recruiting period. If you're just looking at this year, okay, I think we have upgraded at a lot of positions. Uh, in terms of our starting quality uh, on the lines. I mean, that was really the biggest position of need. And I feel like we've even gotten better at wide receiver. Now, tight end might be just as shitty as it was last year. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be anything earth shattering. For some reason, we just can't keep dual threat tight end on here on our team to save our life. But it sounds like hearing some of the comments from Shaman, I think he was on a Twitter space a little while back. It didn't seem like it was anything personal. It was just like, hey, they're going to be running a lot of 10 personnel. Hey, they brought in a lot of wide receivers. They're not really going to be throwing it much to the tight end, which I understand. Now, why can't our offense incorporate, a tight end more so like that? Uh, that's an interesting question. But like overall, I think this is going to be it's going to feel like a more put together product 9 day from some games we saw last year. That's how I feel about it. Noah says linebacker, I feel 100% perfect. Yes, and having Johnny Chaney come out here, chef's kiss. It was awesome. Rahai, what's going on, man? I thought about calling you today to talk about some NBA stuff, but I'll call you tomorrow. I think I only got one meeting. Let's see. We're pretty deep on O line with guys that can play anywhere. Yes, I think like overall the athlete that we brought in is so much better. I think again, just some of the guys that we brought in from granted they were starters in the Big Ten, so that's great. Like Cleo Benson or I get Ethan Boyd was like a part-time starter because none of those guys even could claim that starting right tackle role throughout the entire year. So they're always rotating their right tackle like every game throughout the season. I just wonder like how much more room they have to grow in their game. But a guy that's coming in here like Peyton Kirkland or something like that, uh, I do wonder if somebody like that has a much higher potential with them being also so early on in their college career. Man, if we can get a freshman cornerback to pop off, man, that would just be bonus points, man. It would be absolutely wonderful. We'll see if Ben Boozy or Malachi Murphy can surprise. You're bringing up Cam Michael. I think he has played cornerback and safety, but I think he projects to play more as a safety once he starts practicing there because I think they're starting him off at wide receiver, and I think we could see him. You guys have brought this up. Either him or Draylon Miller kind of run some of this Debo Samuel type stuff. Again, with Pat Shurmur being a Andy Reid disciple, we haven't seen. When I was watching him with the Broncos, we didn't really have the athletes to run a lot of these jet sweeps that you'll see the Chiefs and Niners do. But I think we got more athletes that can that can allow us to do that. So I think some of those guys, I could see them on the field in certain packages where we're running stuff similar to that. Who's going to be the starting running back? Well, I think right now I would go with man, why the hell am I blanking on his name? Hayden, Dallin Hayden. I'd go with Dallin Hayden, but I think it's going to be a pretty even split between him and Rashad Amos. And I, if the priority is protecting the quarterback, right? Amos should be out there in pass protection. Now that we don't have any more 170-pound running backs, we do not have to stress and worry about a back like that being thrown out there in pass protection this year, right? I think Dallin Hayden's over 200 pounds. I think he's like 205, 210 pounds. We got Amos, who's like 235 or so. So I would like to see probably from a pass protection standpoint, Amos out there more. But from what it's been a while since I've looked at either of these guys, I think Down Hayden might have a little bit more uh, just natural ability in the receiving game as well. So I guess I don't really have a huge opinion on that yet. Outside of I think those two will be the guys, and then everybody else we'll just see if they can get in the game. Let's see what else we got. Oh man. Buffed and Prime said our D line is absolutely solid. Oh, hey, I read something that I wanted to bring up. It made me think immediately of Buffed and Prime, and you guys would get a kick out of this. Let's see if I can find it here. Yes. So the New York Giants 2000 offensive playbook. Okay. I was looking at this for understanding what Bo Nix might be responsible for more so this year. And I saw this note in here and it just made crack me up. Let's see here. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. You guys can see that? No? Give me 1 second. I'll just have to share my full screen. So, well, it's not even letting me do it. But anyways, I'll just read it to you. Rule number 7 in the huddle. Jog away from the huddle in all caps. Never loaf. And if you know, you know. Yeah, that's right. My Nuggets are back. My Nuggets are back. Who would have thought they woke up out of their slumber? Now they're playing lights out, baby. Am I planning to go to any away games? Nothing set in stone yet. So I would love to make it out to Orlando for the UCF game. I'm not sure. Probably the most realistic one is going down to Lubbock for the Texas Tech game. Yeah. I think the tight ends that we have right now will be serviceable when it comes to blocking, but we don't have. I don't think we got anybody with like NFL upside right now at that position. Oh yeah, we could also see Brandon Hood get in there a little bit. You know, the 3-star running back coming in as a true freshman. Vic, I thought about doing a video on this. I thought it was funny, but we'll just have to see. If Savion ends up kicking ass this year, I'm definitely gonna have an "I told you so" on here, you know. But it was great to see him land with another Power 4 school. I do believe he's a Power 4 starting caliber right tackle, and I wish him the best. I saw Cormani is committed to Florida as well, and he's coming on as like a paid walk-on, which is kind of interesting. I wonder how college football is going to deal with that one here soon, right? But hey, best of luck to him. I hope that this is the change of scenery that he needs and that he grows from it. But I thought that was pretty interesting to where the Gators almost hedged their bets by not even giving him a scholarship spot. I thought that was pretty interesting. Man, Mike, I would love to get out to Nebraska. Maybe I just need to fly into Lincoln because I'll be honest, man, I do not want to make that drive. That's an ugly ass drive. No offense. But you know, it would be an unreal environment, no doubt. And I think that this year's matchup is going to be much better, much closer the whole way than what we saw last year. Oh gosh. Why are we feuding with players, especially guys that have left the team? There's no reason to do that. Bring back O'Boyle. We need to bring him back as like Chip, you know? That's the only thing that I'm cool with. But yeah, like guys, I think I need to probably do like a recap overall, like on this transfer portal period. But Yeah, like, I like a lot of the guys that we brought in. Of course, it was, not ideal to lose some of the guys that we lost, but, like, ultimately, I'm really excited and looking forward to this year, and I think at least, guys, we're Pop-Tarts bowl bound. I That's what I'm thinking. As long as we're kicking the ball inbounds and, we're not getting dumb penalties, we understand the snap count, and we get, you know, half decent play from both of our lines. We won 4 games last year. I don't understand why people are saying that they see us winning like 1 or 2 games this year, because I don't like. Okay, you can say maybe you're worried about the long term, for 25 and 26 about this team just because of the transfer portal and all that stuff. Man, I don't give a shit. I want to talk about this year. I think we have a better roster than we had last year, and so I think that we're gonna see improvement. Now, one thing that I did want to do a video on, so this is just a little bit of a teaser. Why the hell is everybody talking about North Dakota State like they're Alabama? Guys, they haven't played an FBS team or beaten an FBS team since like 2016? Do I have my facts straight or am I wrong on that? That was before the whole transfer portal era. That was while they had Coach Kleiman. Like, I understand that the culture and all of that is great at North Dakota State. They hire from within, all that bullshit, all that bullshit that I believe in, right? There is no way. Like, I'm just not worried about a team that has 60 scholarship spots or whatever it is for FCS. I'm just not. We should handle them. If we're not winning by a significant margin, then I will be worried. But guys, I see people on Twitter saying that, North Dakota. I don't understand how Colorado would schedule North Dakota State. I mean, what are people talking about that with CSU? If anything, I would much rather play North Dakota State than Air Force. Than Air Force. And if you've watched our team play Air Force over the years, you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay. So I don't want to hear any of that bullshit about North Dakota State being one of the best teams in the country or some shit like that. They're coming on the road in our house too. Man, I ain't worried about that. Now, we can't overlook CSU this year. We have to slap that ass, smack it around, right? We can't underestimate going into Lincoln in that type of environment. We know if they had a quarterback that could have taken a snap, it would have been a different game. All right. But the game that I'm least worried about out of all 12 games that we got, it's North Dakota State. So, with that being said, y'all, I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys as always. I will be back tomorrow. Smash that like on the way out. Scope.